Felicitations! It is me, Felicia Day, and this is my podcast. Woo! Why, when I open GarageBand to record this podcast, do I always click on female voice? Female basic voice. There's always like two tracks. There's male basic and female basic, and there's nothing different between them. Why do I always just click on the female one? Do you have an answer for me? Because I don't. It's been a couple weeks. I mean, this is a bi-weekly podcast. Oh, by the way, we are now available on Google Play. I transferred my RSS feed to Libsyn, whatever. And from there, I can push out to many other places. So we should be live on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Spotify. And then I'm working on Stitcher, perhaps. So all the requests to get the podcast on a bigger platform are being rewarded months later. You guys, I have to apologize to you that I'm not applying myself more to build this podcast a little bigger, be a little more professional. I have struggled, and I realize it's because I've kind of fallen apart over the summer. I really, truly have. I've fallen apart. And I went to the doctor. I think I told you guys, I went to the doctor to get my blood checked. Guess what? I went off my thyroid medicine. My thyroid is very low. I had low red blood cells count, and I have something else. I have chloride or something. It's Clorox. I have bleach in my blood. That's the problem. No, something else. So I have to go back in and recheck my blood, but for sure I'm going to have to go back on my Synthroid, which is awesome because you know the side effects of having a low T3 is having depression, weight gain, dry skin, fatigue, blah, 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 everything I'm suffering from. So I'm glad that I can blame somebody else for my problems, meaning my body. I'm kind of hoping that keeps going. So anyway, hey, how are you guys? I had an eventful couple weeks. I was very busy working on a bunch of different things, mostly going to TwitchCon this last weekend. If you guys don't know Twitch is a live stream gaming platform. I have been streaming for for almost 5 years there as a hobby. I loved the platform so much, I turned it into a business thing. I urged my company to start a Twitch channel, which we did. And from there, we had a lot of great shows, especially Critical Role, which is like a breakout, huge hit. I can't claim credit for anything but just giving a platform to a bunch of really, really awesome, talented people. And now they're on their own doing amazing stuff. Very proud of them and happy for them at their success. So pretty great. I love the platform because I love community building. I love a place where you can feel like you know the people and you can interact with people live. And most importantly, if they're a jerk to you, you can ban them. And I had to give a speech. And let me just tell you guys, writing a 20-minute speech was harder than writing a screenplay. Speeches are just really hard. They're hard to format in a way that feels enjoyable. Just imagine, I did stand-up classes just for fun, stand-up comedy. And a 5-minute set is a huge accomplishment, and it takes months to put that together. 5 minutes of talking. I just kicked my garbage can over. So imagine 5 minutes times, 4, because that's makes 20. So 4 5-minute chunks. I tried to think of it in 5-minute chunks, and it still took forever to do it. So like the last week and a half was just devoted to writing and rewriting, and I'm one of those people who literally could rewrite something to my grave. I can never let go of it. And I just can't get a lot of time to concentrate on things. So I left Friday and I went up to TwitchCon. And I had the luxury of time in my hotel room to just write the speech and then watch HGTV. Guys, there's a terrible show on HGTV about lotto winners and people who win the lottery and then they're going to buy their dream house. And the formula is so irritating. And the host is so just annoying that I watched like 5 episodes. I don't know why I kept watching. It was just because I was free to watch TV for the first time, not having to worry about a baby waking up. It was glorious. There was no room service because I was staying at the Marriott, and evidently there was a strike at the local Marriotts in the San Francisco, San Jose area. So specifically just that area, there was a strike line, which I went in the back entrance so I wouldn't cross the strike line. But I still felt bad about staying there, even though I wasn't like paying for the hotel room. I'm a union member, and I felt bad, but I did not change because they could not find me a different room. So we tried. Anywho, I got to go up there and I co-hosted the cosplay contest, and they were the most amazing cosplays, you guys. I mean, I was blown away. And I had watched last year's TwitchCon cosplay contest, and I've seen other ones from afar. You cannot appreciate good cosplay unless you are right up close to it. Especially there was a needlework category, and the care and attention to detail that some of these artists, really they're artists, 100% they're artists, put in their costumes. I was unbelievably blown away. The winner, this beautiful girl, made this unbelievable, beautiful Elizabethan type outfit with lights in it, and the seams were incredible. And one of the judges was this adorable, shy girl, and when she talked about her French seams, it was as if she was welling up because she'd seen the most beautiful thing in her life. And it's that kind of thing that makes me appreciate specialization and just fandom in general. Like, just, I admire people who are good at things. That's why I love Project Runway. That's why I love MasterChef or whatever. That's why I don't love Lotto, shopping show. What is the name of it? I don't care. It was not a good show. And I watched it only because there was literally nothing else on Food Channel. I watched a bunch of Halloween cooking competitions, which were great. People were awesome. They made these awesome sculptures with zombies coming out, blah, blah, blah. So that was fun. There was one cosplay I took a picture of. That'll be my it'll be my cover picture for this episode of the podcast, because I had to bite my tongue 50 times because especially the back of this full latex suit looked like it just looked like some like naked testicles. Okay. I'm sorry. Testicles. I promise you they look like testicles. I'm going to show you a picture. You will believe me. So I did that. It was really awesome. I saw several of my friends I haven't seen in a long time from various gaming. I just haven't been doing gaming stuff in the last several years, you guys. It's been years. You have a baby and it just like years of your life gone. They're growing. They're showing you you're aging, but it's hard to actually appreciate how fast time is going. It just speeds up a lot. Just enjoy your time while you have it if you don't have a baby, because you won't have 6 hours to play Fallout ever again. That's all I'm saying. Don't be resentful. The next day I did my speech, and the speech was, it was fine. It was great. It was just hard because I realize now that some of the things I used to talk about 5 years ago don't apply to audiences as much. I mean, we're in a different world. I could not make the Guild nowadays. Gaming is not the Guild. It's not about guilds anymore. That was an old school sort of social thing that happened around gaming. I don't know if guilds are familiar, or MMOs are not that popular anymore. The idea of playing with a fixed number of people that you know all the time, yeah, some people still do it, but a lot of people, they'll play with their friends they already have in real life, or they'll play with, randos. But it's not so much that people who don't know each other are playing consistently together. With young people, if you're old like me, which I literally said 3 times because I would reference something and the blank looks on the 22-year-olds would be like, oh, I feel 22. I mean, I was stupid when I was 22, so I feel better than I was at 22, but I don't feel like over 22. And I realized, no, you're over 22. Get with it. But I was able to highlight some things I thought were important. You guys can watch the speech if you want. It's on I think it's on the Twitch main page. I touched on how to build yourself as a creator, which I think I found universal things about. Find out what's unique about yourself and lead with it, because that, whatever your weirdness is going to be your strength in creativity. That's universal. You want to sign up for the process of the creation and not just the result. Everybody wants to have been a famous actor. Do you actually want to do the work to become a better actor? Do you want to do the work of getting the job of an actor? Do you want to, if you want to be a writer, do you want to have written a novel, or do you want to sign up for the daily work of being a novelist? So I thought those are the 2 things about making yourself a creator, which I thought were the most important. And then I talked about building a brand, which I just hate people talking about their personal brand. I just think it borderlines on douchey, but that's okay. Listen, because it is kind of a brand. A personality becomes a brand online. Cult of personality. And then I talked a lot about caring for yourself as you find success, which a lot of people don't normally talk about. I mean, no one's going to complain. You can only complain to someone who has your same quote unquote problems and success level. Like, oh my God, people are offering me too many opportunities. You're disgusting. Like, I would yell at that person for complaining, and that's me complaining. Oh my God, I can't deal with all this pressure and offers. I mean, it's a high class problem to have, but it is a problem. And nobody equips you for the ability to deal with success. We're all used to failure, but there are problems that come with success that I didn't know about, and I wish I had known about and been prepared for, because I might have done, certain things differently and struggled a little bit less just mentally and physically. And then I talked about building community, which is, of course, if you know my work, my passion. I love building community. That's why my Discord is the Discord channel. You guys can join it. It's discord.gg/Felicia Day. It's a open chat forum for people to talk about all sorts of categories of things like board games, TV, whatever. It's just a nice, supportive environment. And it's just a way to connect with people who share my same passions. I don't know them in person necessarily, but if I met them, I know I'd like them. And that's what I like to create on the internet. And I talked about how to do that in a way that feels attainable and organic. I mean, my basic message was, I guess I should just be doing the speech. 20 minutes. My basic message was treat your online business like you would an offline business. So, make it look nice. Keep your hours consistent. Market it in a way that you, how would you market a cupcake shop in real life? Market your cupcake shop online that way. Online that way. And then also make sure your cupcake shop is not filled with abusive, racist, terrible people. So the whole point I agreed to go up there was to tell people, don't be afraid to be ruthless in protecting your community and yourself from abuse. Because if you really think about it, we are trained to say that, well, in the online world, you're going to be safe. When you go out in general, you're going to be safe when you go to public places. You're going to be safe when you go to private places. People are not going to assault you verbally. But online, it just comes with the territory. Twitter's like, can't do anything about it. I think you can. You could put if you could put no solicitations outside of McDonald's, you can certainly do something about the platform that you provide. But of course, they don't want to take responsibility for their platform because that will open them up to liability. Guys, it's all about money in the end. So I guess my message was, please, if you have a space online that you're a leader of, be the owner and leader of that space. Tell people it's not okay to do things. Because if you do it in a gentle and inviting manner, you might be able to have somebody learn from it, I don't know if, I'll talk about this. I was randomly backstage and there was a Twitch creator who had this really cool thing, and he had a moderator, one of his fans following him around streaming. And I got to talking to this guy. And he was live streaming at the same time. So this actually adds to the story. So he was live streaming to his audience, which I don't think there were very many people there, to be honest with you. But I was like, hey, what do? You do your own streaming yourself as well as being a mod and a supporter of this person? And he was like, yeah, I do RP GTA or something like that. And I was like, what? So evidently I was unfamiliar with this, but it sounded fascinating to me. The people play GTA in private servers, I guess, and they stream it and they actually role play. So it's like a role play server in World of Warcraft, which I was familiar with, but the way he was describing it made me a little confused. Whatever. So I was like, oh, okay. That's interesting. And what kind of characters do you play? And he was like, yeah, so I play this one character. And he was like, it was a slightly Asian name. And this is a Caucasian white guy. And I was like, oh. So I instinctively sort of recoiled emotionally, but I was nice. And I said, oh, okay, I'm streaming on the internet right now. And I want to, put my foot in it or something. And I was like, what's the other character you play? And we were talking about that other character. He was like, and then basically he was like, hey, I saw you withdraw when I mentioned this character. Why? And I was like, are we going to go here? So, obviously I'm in a public forum. I'm being live streamed. I'm talking to someone I don't know. And I'm sitting next to him on a couch. And he seems like a really nice guy. And I was like, well, okay, how do I gently put this? I just, in my personal opinion, it feels like maybe could be inappropriate to be playing somebody who's not your race. And then he was like, oh, really? And suddenly, guys, we have the most significant conversation I've had in years. Because he was really curious and open to it. And he wasn't defensive about it. And I was very careful to approach him in a way that didn't seem offensive, right? I did at one point say, well, it could be a version of blackface. But Because I know I could tell that he was coming from a genuine confused point of view because it never had occurred to him. As a person who is steeped in sort of like that culture in Hollywood, and I mean, listen, on BoJack Horseman, Alison Brie plays a Vietnamese person. And a lot of her storylines are about being Vietnamese and coping with that. And I personally find that to be inappropriate. I know that I get auditions sometimes for people who are not my race for voiceover. Like for, I don't know, it was like Princess Jasmine or something I got an audition for. I was like, absolutely not. I would not audition for this because to me, if I wouldn't play them on screen, I would not play them off screen. And I think especially now with a world where we're trying to improve representation, where there's been a lot of like kind of egregious examples. I mean, the most egregious are in the night. I mean, I even brought this up to him. I was like, well, Katharine Hepburn played an Asian woman in 1930s, The Good Pearl or whatever. Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's might be the worst thing ever put on screen. So to me, if you would not do it on screen, I don't know why you would do it off screen, but I know that that's not universal. I do know we're approaching a time where hopefully we can be represented as we are represented. And I think we're getting to a point where that's not going to be cool. And we had a genuine discussion about it, guys. And I was like, listen, I am so impressed that you're, we can approach this in a way where we're both open to each other's viewpoints. Because he was like, my community has never brought it up. A lot of GTA people do role play different races. And I said, the only thing you can decide is what, having educated yourself on the issue, you can make your decision. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to do that with my community. And thank you for opening my eyes to a different viewpoint. I don't know what the guy's going to decide to do, but the fact that he can at least consider it. There was another Asian person in the room and they were like, yeah, that's not cool in a nice way. But what impressed me was like we had an actual dialogue where I think both of us were open to other people's points of view. And in this world where no one can not be entrenched in their own viewpoint. I mean, I know that I am, when I see on my Twitter, all I'm doing is looking at my own side's outrage all the time. And it's to a point where I just have a visceral reaction to the person who doesn't agree with me, to not even see them as a person with nuanced points of views. And I feel like that's not good for the world. So in conclusion, I have my point of view, and I really hope he did make an effort to read up on why that might be offensive. And I don't know, drew whatever conclusion he needed to do with him and his community. So anyway, it was just kind of refreshing, you guys, in this world to have a little bit of an impact on somebody's opinion, and he had an impact on mine too. Okay, so then, yeah, I did my speech. I did that. Oh, I did a D&D thing, which was so much fun. It was the D&D official podcast they have that, oh my God, it's so funny. Chris Perkins runs it and he's so funny and he dressed as Dracula. It was like sexy Dracula. And I was like, wow. And I dressed as a ghost, but it was like Blue Man Group ghost. They were copying the character on the D&D card or whatever. And so I was like a blue ghost, which was so funny. And I actually tweeted a GIF, whatever guys, of me trying to be suave and pose on the back of a chair. And it literally fell over with me. But I recovered Lucille Ball style. And it was so fun. It was very fun. So it was a great weekend. It actually, okay, A, it was a great weekend. And then B, there was such a letdown afterwards because, I mean, there's this thing about being a performer, you guys. You get like, and I am generally like behind the scenes now. So I act, a little bit, but not nearly as much as I used to. And sort of there's a drug of people's attention that it kind of gets to your head. Not a big inflated way. It's just this thing that you crave and that you want more of, but you also want to do more to give them more stuff to enjoy. And it's sort of the feedback loop of tweeting and getting a viral post. That times 20 because you're being an artist too, because you're sharing something that's personal to you and you're getting good feedback about it. That's why everybody's actors. It's like everyone's looking for love underneath it all. It's probably an approval thing with your parents, whatever. But at the heart of it, performers really need that. That's their addiction in a sense. And I don't normally have that now. I'm working more on writing stuff and behind the scenes stuff, which is really fun. But when you get a dose of that, it was like going back to old Felicia before my baby, before all this, life transition. And, it was hard to adjust backwards to get home. So anyway, I'm adjusted. It's all good. it's good to be able to, because maybe 5 years ago, I wouldn't even have been aware enough of myself that to say, oh, this is why I'm down today. I would just be, oh, I'm down, and I'm believing this voice in my head that says you should be depressed and down and anxious and all this stuff. I'm like, no, it's fine. So let's see. Yeah, what have I been consuming? Well, not a lot of time. I have also had insomnia all week as well. And I realize it's a problem. And I'm going to be doing something more about it. Hopefully my thyroid medicine will help even me out. If not, I'm just going to go to the brain doctor and see what happens. Could be talking it out could help. Maybe I need to do something else because I don't want to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning and be crying about like the rainforest getting cut down anymore. And then that anxiety transferring to my own career and my, worrying that I literally will wake up at 4 a.m. and be convinced I have colon cancer. Because I read that Audrey Hepburn died of it. And then randomly, I'm like, oh, weird poop. So you know what I'm saying? Why did I just say that? So I'm working on it. And so before I go to bed now, I'm doing my meditation tape, which I talked about. And I've gotten to the point where I can't read anything stimulating. So last week I read Epictetus, who is a Stoic philosopher. I read a whole translation of that. I did a lot of really good, oh my God, I got to get my quotes. There were some really great quotes, like, don't put your purpose in one place and expect to see progress made somewhere else. Nothing important comes into being overnight. Even grapes or figs need time to grow and ripen. If you say that you want a fig now, I will tell you to be patient. First, you must allow the tree to flower, then put forth fruit. Then you have to wait until the fruit is ripe. Dude, totally. Oh, here's my favorite quote. When someone is properly grounded in life, they shouldn't have to look outside themselves for approval. That's exactly my whole life. What is misfortune? An opinion. First, tell yourself what you want to be, then act your part accordingly. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. Oh, here's my last and most favorite. If your body was turned over to just anyone, you would doubtless take exception, right? Why are you ashamed that you have made your mind vulnerable to anyone who happens to criticize you so that it automatically becomes confused and upset? Whoa, mind blown, guys. This dude, Epictetus, really knew how to make a coffee mug quote. That's all I gotta say. There were a lot of things in there that weren't really germane to current living, like a lot of talk about slavery. Just like slaves are cool, it's cool to have slaves and how to deal with slaves. And he's always referring to slaves as like mouthy and taking advantage of you, which is like, they're slaves. Also, there were a ton of things in there. About wives and children dying and how to kind of deal with it in a way that, don't get too upset about it. Stoic philosophy is supposed to be like, you're above it all. Don't get caught up in the feeling of it. You don't have the control that you think you do in life anyway. So if you give up that idea of control, you'll be happier. But yeah, I guess wives, there was a lot of slavery back then, clearly from what he's talking about, and a lot of wives and children dying. And so, hey, I guess, that's then. Also, my favorite quote, it shows a lack of refinement to spend a lot of time exercising, eating, drinking, defecating, or copulating. I can see you can control how much you eat and drink and have intercourse, right? But, is defecating really an indulgence? Is that really like, I'm making a choice to just poop all day, every day? It doesn't seem like that should be in the same category. Anywho, I don't know. Let me just tell you, I am really interested in the Stoic philosophy, and I'm going to be reading some Plutarch and stuff. And by the way, it puts me to bed awesomely. I currently am reading a book on theoretical physics, A Scientific Odyssey Through Parallel Universes, Time Works, and the 10th Dimension by Michio Kaku, who is incredible. Just in the opening, he built like an atom burster in his garage as a kid. He's obviously like a genius. And that, again, put me to sleep really well last night. But I'm learning something. So I'm really hoping I get my nerves. Hopefully the election next week. By the way, if you're not voting, I just can't respect you. Just putting it out there. Everybody should vote. If you don't vote, it's like basically 2 votes for the person you would least like in there. So it's a nice way to think about it. Please vote. I know it's really hard when people are just telling you to do things right now and you get defensive and it seems like it might be a pain in the ass, but just please, I'm begging you, for the sake of my cute little baby who I shared a dragon picture with this week for her Halloween. She was a dragon, she was a ghost, and she was a cat because she had to do 3 changes because she is a baby who is controlled by me. So really, I just wanted to change her 3 times. Anyway, so those are the books I've been reading. I did not have time to watch anything but that Lotto show, which was just so terrible. I'll watch it again, unfortunately. I'm going to be doing some streaming this Friday, I think. If it works out Friday, if not Sunday, and I'm going to be doing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I'm obsessed with ancient Greek and ancient Roman times. I read so many books on them, and I watch every TV show that's ever been. Rome is one of my favorites. It's just so good. And so that game really scratches an itch that no other Assassin's Creed have done. I have the Fallout 76 beta access, but I don't have it installed on my Xbox, and I'm too lazy, and I don't really know how to stream from there, so I'm probably just going to wait for it to come out on my PC, which I do primarily. Plus, I have my PC in my back office. I don't want to be like screaming and waking the baby up like I used to when she was young and my computer was in the front room. So I would love to hear what you guys are playing. Please leave it in the comments. I'm still checking SoundCloud comments. I mean, Sean Sandalooky Look is. And please leave #felicitations on Twitter so we can have more questions, which I'm going to answer right now. Oh, wait, first I wanted to talk about my skincare. Well, let me just tell you, I joined a group on Facebook that specialized in skincare products. It's a bunch of ladies are in there. They spent a ton of money on their face, and I was like, Felicia, it's time to level up your face. This was like 8 months ago. I started this. I bought a bunch of skincare stuff. I started using it all. I started doing like 7 steps before bedtime. And I looked in the mirror the other day, and I swear to God, my skin looked like a prune. It was wrinkled, you guys. It was so like the surface of a raisin. I'm not kidding. 2 days I put coconut oil on my face. My skin looks normal again. So just FYI, don't listen to all the fancy-pantsy people about skincare. Like, go get a facial once every 6 months. Use like natural products on your face. I threw out all the expensive stuff that I bought, all the serums, all the glycolic poopity shoots. I just got rid of it all because honestly, my skin is way worse than it was before I did nothing on it. And I don't think that's just a question of like, it's literally all the products I was doing. I was aggravating my skin. So that was an interesting revelation. That's about all I'm going to do about skincare, okay? I'll talk about parenting all the time, not skincare. Okay, I'm going to answer some questions. Yvette Cherry Pop 11. I love your podcast because you have some pretty cool viewpoints. Thanks, Yvette. Since you seem all in the know and all up with coolness, can you suggest another podcast for me to listen to while I'm waiting for a new episode of yours? Thanks, Yvette. Well, I do have a handful that I recommended on the Flog that I really loved, but the ones that I've been listening to, the ones that I don't ever not keep up with are Hello from the Magic Tavern, which is so funny. It's an improv fantasy comedy show, and I've guest starred on it several times, only because I was such a fan they reached out. And so I think it's so funny. The actors are so funny, and the world is so beautifully, it's just, all the characters are funny. It's all improv, which is even more impressive. They're making it up on the spot, and it's one of my favorite ones. I never miss it. I never miss listening to Respectful Parenting by Janet Lansbury because she has the best parenting advice that I've ever had listened to. She has 2 books that are basically compilations of her blog that are out, and those are, of all the parenting books I've ever read, those 2 are the best. No Bad Kids and Respectful Parenting, I believe. Those are the names of the books, but her podcast is fantastic, and every time I listen to it, I feel like I'm a better person. She's so even and like calm. I'm like, why couldn't my mom have been like this? Oh boy. The other one that I always like to listen to is Sitcom Geeks, because I love sitcoms. So if you're interested in filmmaking or writing, especially comedy, Sitcom Geeks, it's a British one, and they interview I think they have a Stephen Moffat interview I just saw that I haven't listened to, and I'm so excited about. But in general, they really break down writing for you. They also interview people, and the structure is just really, I learn a lot every time I listen to it about acting and writing and everything. And so if you want an insider podcast about the industry, I think that one's my favorite. I also listen to You Must Remember This. It's all about old Hollywood. That's the newest one I just started. A friend of mine recommended it too. And it's like all about scandalous things that happened in the 30s and 20s and 40s. And just stories that you'd never hear before. I love old movies, like silent movies, and especially early the 30s, like Howard Hawks and things like that, old screwball comedies. Those are my favorite movies ever. And so listening to sort of this behind the scenes stories about, Howard Hughes and all these things, it's really juicy. It's hot goss, except it's not hot because everyone's dead. And then the last one I always listen to is a little bit more of I love history, so hardcore history is really great. But from hardcore history, which I listen to as well, I found Revolutions with this guy named Mike Duncan. And he used to be a fishmonger in Seattle. And now this is his full-time job, which I love. There's nothing better than a podcast about someone who has a passion for something and they turned it into their business. And I learned something every single time. So Revolutions, he does like 40-part podcasts on certain revolutions in the world. So I've listened to the English Revolution, and the French Revolution was just astonishing. And it really is, when you listen to things like that, you realize we live in such a privileged time that has such little violence and such little mortality. And even though, yes, the world is overpopulated and global warming is definitely going to change the way that we live, we have had it way worse in the past, and I pray that we don't have it as bad as we have had it in the past anymore. Because although, if you think about just the climate nowadays, people are just pulled out of their houses and murdered all the time back then based on their religion, especially. And so we've almost in a period where politics is religion, and it's gotten that heated and that violent. And I don't know, maybe we are 2 steps away from, we certainly are 0 steps away from horrible violence against people just because of who they are and what their religion they are. So I don't know. It's good to get perspective, and it also, it gives you perspective in a comforting way, but also a very agitating way, because you can see things that are happening that could happen again. So those are my 5 that I would recommend if you're interested in all those different kind of things. Okay. Next question. Just a couple more, very fast. Brian Valencia asks, hey, about a month ago you posted a photo of you with your copy of Gloomhaven. I was wondering if you'd had a chance to start playing it yet. Brian, no. Although my friend Sean, who runs Jinx Clothing Wear, I saw him at TwitchCon. I love him so much. He was a huge supporter of the guild early on and just a good friend. He literally offered to drive up from San Diego to teach me how to play it because he loves it. It's literally the last 2 years of his life, last year of his life. That's all he plays with his friends. So we opened it. I had a game night about a month ago and we opened it, but there were so many things to punch out. We were like, we're going to get carpal tunnel, and we certainly won't get through this 50 to 100 page manual anytime soon. So, this is why I'd love to have Did I talk about this already? If I answered it before, I'm sorry, but this is why I wish we had tabletop, because I'd have an excuse to really dive in as a work thing to figure it out. But I do want to play it. So thank you, Brian. Thanks for holding my feet to the fire, except not. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. I've been talking a while. Last question. Medusa Adusum. Since you were homeschooled when you grew up, do you plan on homeschooling Calliope? Thanks, Medusa. Good question, Medusa. I don't know. I don't know, Medusa. It's really interesting that you ask, because I'm kind of conflicted about it. And I'm kind of conflicted about it, and it's weird because it kind of it kind of goes back to my speech where, and if you've read my memoir, which, I'm sure a lot of you have, I believe in the internet. I believe in the internet as a way for people to find, get out of here, fly! Get out of here! I apologize, there was a fly in here. I'm sorry, so professional. One day, guys, I'll get an editor. I used to think, and I still would like to think, that the internet is a beautiful place because it doesn't matter where you physically are. Whatever your viewpoint is that makes you an outsider, you can feel like an insider and feel accepted on the internet. And I, of course, believed in that because I was a nerdy person. I liked things that were not mainstream, like games, and I was, not particularly welcomed by other, especially, girls and things like that. In my past, because I wasn't like them. And so the online world helped me be faithful to who I am. And that's why I look at Calliope and I see things like, I even just last night at Halloween, how many little girls were in princess outfits, and how many people kind of looked at her funny that she was, not in one of those girlier outfits, and yada, yada, yada. And I don't like the fact that she would ever be told what she should be based on her outsides. And I know that it comes early. My friend who is married to a woman. She has a little girl, and her little girl on a video the other day was outraged that they didn't have a king. She wanted to be a princess with a king and a queen. And her mama was trying to tell her, well, we live in a world with two queens. And she's like, no. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl, she had to have learned it. Where did she learn that? Where did she learn it's not okay to have a world with two queens and your kingdom be ruled by two queens? I mean, it really bothered me, and it really bothered her too. And it's just like, how, no matter what you do, it's in the environment. As a child, you grow up and you learn how the world works. And somebody told her that's the way the world works. And I didn't grow up with a lot of that about what girls should do, especially. And I don't want her to have that. But at the same time, going back to the internet analogy, being too sheltered and being too much around people, I want to make sure she understands other people and can fit in as well. Because if you look at the internet, it has provided pockets of acceptance for people who are weird and strange. But it also, the flip side, it has provided pockets for people who are weird and strange in ways because society is ostracizing them for what I would consider good reasons, like racism and Nazism and hate speech and incredible virulent misogyny and like viewpoints that you keep hidden because they are socially unacceptable in a way that's not like just somebody liking, D&D, okay? And so I guess somebody would relatively say, well, why? I don't know. There's a lot of complicated things. All I know is that I think the downfall of the world will be the internet because nobody is ever seeing reality. I mean, honestly, if tomorrow it was announced that elephants are extinct, how many people would care? I don't know if people care anymore because nothing is real. Nothing is tangible. There's no empathy and connection and investment in reality in a way. And I don't, it's not video games. It's the way that we have this weird relationship with social media and other people as a vehicle to our own ego versus genuine caring. And then genuine impact, right? Of somebody in front of us suffering versus a picture of it versus a GIF of it versus a headline on a Twitter feed that makes us feel slightly sad. And then we look at a kitten like, oh, that's better. It's an emotional, I don't know, something we're bathed in emotionally every day that is artificial. It's artificially constructed. And therefore, we're not impacted by larger things that are going on around us. And through that, people are taking power and manipulating us. And we don't even see what they're doing. I don't know. I'm rambling a little bit, but I'm just saying, hey, I don't want to grow my child in a chamber where she's not exposed to other viewpoints. But I also don't want her to betray who she could be outside of somebody telling her she can't be something because of arbitrary societal decisions. So I don't know. I'm grappling with it. I really am. And I want the best for her. And it also kind of depends on her personality, how much she needs other people on a daily basis. Or would she be better served kind of following her own Piper? I don't know. So we'll see. Thanks for asking the question. I have no idea. I'm putting it off. She isn't 2 yet. So I have some time. And anyway, okay. Well, guys, if you're enjoying this podcast on another platform, please just leave a review because I'd love to build the podcast. I understand that a lot of it's on me. I just need to invest more in it. I need to go back to being a weekly podcast and I need to do a bunch of stuff. I'm taking the rest of the year to sort of evaluate my bandwidth, and I would just want to make sure that everything I do is really high quality. And I know that this is more of a hobby for me. So I really appreciate your listening to me ramble and asking me fun questions that keep this thing going. So leave a question, #felicitations, and I will see you guys in a couple weeks and catch a stream this weekend. And if not, go on the Discord, discord.gg/FeliciaDay. Thank you, and thanks for anybody listening on new platforms. I did some work for you. All right, have a good week. See you later. Bye.